Ladies and gentlemen, on the line we have Larry Denomie, a candidate in the upcoming election, running on the Baraga side. Larry, first of all, can you please introduce yourself and give us a rundown of your history with tribal government?
Sure. So, Larry Denomie, obviously, born and raised in Baraga, lived here pretty much all my life. My experience comes mostly from actually a well-rounded experience, including time on the casino side as well as on the government side. Started out in the casino world, left there in 2001, end of 2001, 2002, started my own businesses, what's now the Ojibwa BP Car Wash Laundromat. And then in 2007, started serving as the tribe's CEO. And then other than 2014, I did that through the end of 2019, so quite a few years there in the world of the government, leading the departments there and working for the tribal council. And now most recently, I've been in the role of the general manager of the Ojibwa Casinos, and I started that in January of 2019. Actually, it was through the 2019. Yeah, time flies when you're having fun. But that's generally where my experience comes in with the government and actually the tribe overall.
Okay, so what motivated you to run in this election?
My motivation really comes from, I spend a lot of time with tribal council as the CEO and then as the general manager. And, I see the struggles that they have sometimes in working through issues and, dilemmas that they come across. And, I've, in all of my experience working for the tribe, I just feel like I have a lot to offer, at that table, not necessarily serving as an employee, but serving as a public service individual on tribal council. I did have 6 years of experience serving on tribal council, back in the early 2000s. So I also have that experience along with my experience working for the tribe. So I just think that helping the tribe is really my mission in running for tribal council. I just feel like that, the experience I have and everything that I've done throughout the years has led me to a point where it's time for me to give back to our tribe in a way other than serving in an employee type of role and working on the bigger issues, so to speak. And there are a lot of them. I just think that our community members have voted on some issues that just haven't been resolved to this point, and I want to help get through those and make sure that their voices that were clearly heard in the vote that they cast needs to have some resolution to them. So that's my main interest is in helping our tribe and getting us through this rough patch. There's been a lot of difficult times here recently with the unprecedented issue with the pandemic, and my experience too working through that with all of our departments and the health department and the local emergency planning committee will help guide the rest of the tribe through a seat at the tribal council table.
What is your opinion on the tribe being in the marijuana business?
I support the fact that the tribe is going down that road. I think that the sources of revenue there are something that is going to be a good diversification for the tribe. It'll provide, additional resources to do additional things for our tribe and for our members. The biggest issue with that I see is ensuring that the pool of money that is being used to start that up is replenished, and then also is brought even more whole than that, so that at some point we can take care of our elders and our seniors through the senior trust program, which is where some of that funding is coming from, or where the funding is coming from, to get the whole cannabis operation going. So I am supportive of that, and having a seat at that table will ensure that I have the ability to give my thoughts and opinions on the business side of that operation. I know it has to be kept separately from the tribe, but that doesn't mean that we can ensure that investment is coming back the way that it should, and also in addition to the investment that was made.
Okay. What is your view on term limits?
So my view on term limits is that I think that we had a vote of the people. They were asked the question, do you support having term limits for tribal council? So I believe that when that question was posed to the membership, there wasn't a lot of communication put out there about what that meant. So term limits to me can mean different things. It can mean, you can only serve so many terms in your history or your lifespan, or the length of term that you serve could be shorter or longer. There wasn't a lot of communication about really what that question meant, which the Constitutional Committee then, they formed and they started working on the question to pose to the membership in a final question that would actually change the Constitution. And when that came, I was actually at the council meeting the day that had come forward for a decision on whether to move forward with it. And I could see that there was confusion about what direction that was intending to go. And I believe that we really need to find out for sure what the intention of our community members was when they voted in favor of doing term limits. And I think that term limits is something that can work, and maybe it is something that is needed. Just what does that look like, and what is the impact going to be on the tribe in the short and the long term? I've been around a long time and have been around council for a long time, and I can see the positive things that come from having people with all of that institutional knowledge of being on council for long periods of time. But I do also think that maybe there's a point where they should step back, give somebody else a chance to learn and grow and become that person on council. But maybe they can come back after a certain hiatus, or they take a break from council and then they can rerun again. So I think that there's different things that we need to look at, but I think it needs to be communicated well to our membership so that when they go to vote in the final decision on how we change our Constitution, it's really the pulse of the membership. And not to say that it was a small group of people, but it was a pretty small group of people that ended up coming to the decision that I seen come to council, based on the conversations that happened at council when I was there. So I just think that it's a very it's a decision that was voted on by the people, but we have to ensure that a majority of the people is who this is what this change is going to represent. We don't want to change our Constitution just to change our Constitution. We have to make sure that the change is reflective of the majority of the membership and what they want to see happen with term limits.
Okay, moving on to this one. What is your opinion on blood quantum?
So blood quantum is something that is really, I think, needs to become more of a front burner than a back burner issue. Clearly, we're seeing less and less members just because of the fact that we become mixed families, so to speak, and then eventually, we're going to have very minimal amount of members on our rolls. So we really need to take a look at this issue, and we need to come up with a solution to ensure that we exist as a tribe for many years to come. And again, we need to get a lot of input and ideas from our members on what do they see as a good way to come up with a solution to that issue. It is a problem, and we definitely need to address that situation.
Okay, on to this one. How has culture played a role in your life?
For me, culture, I totally support culture and tradition and the language. Unfortunately, when I was born and how I was raised was more of the Catholic upbringing, and so that's really what I'm ingrained with. I'm interested in those things, but there's a point where your interest and the amount of time you have to dedicate to that is a mixed thing, and I think it's important that our members and our young people really play an active role in in bringing that and keeping that and solidifying how we can keep those things, culture and tradition and language, active in our community, because as we lose those things, then we're losing our identity, and that I don't ever want to see that.
Okay, and now's the time where I'll give you 90 seconds to speak directly to the community. Larry Chimigwech for doing this interview, and your time starts now.
All right, thank you, community, for considering me to serve as a tribal council member in the Baraga District. I don't want to bore you with a lot of details about me, but I have worked hard for our community. I have worked hard for our tribe, and I've really tried to do what is best for a majority of our tribe. And what I'd like to do is take everything that I've learned from others, the things that I have gained through experience and things that I have done in my life as far as working for the tribe in these different roles, as far as, running my own businesses. I think that we're at a very critical stage right now, and we could be at a breaking point, so to speak, if decisions that are made by tribal council don't support the future of our tribe. And I think that the experience that I have will help to guide us through that process and make sure that we exist for years to come. COVID has changed the whole concept of what business means for a lot of people. We see that families are struggling. We see that businesses are struggling. I just want to ensure that we're doing everything we can to make sure that we survive this horrible time in our history, really. As we get into history and then we look back on where this is, what today is providing, I think it's important that we look back and say, hey, we did some things wrong, but we did a lot of things right to make sure that we're existing here, 10, 15, 20, 30 years, 7 generations down the road, because that's what's important. I also want to brag a little bit about myself. I think that I have worked hard to accomplish some things. Going back to my days on council, I did spearhead the right for 18 to 20-year-olds to vote. That was something that I had led back then, and it was successful. So we have people that are able to vote now that are 18 to 20. I was successfully completed the KBIC Tobacco Company's licensing requirements that provide the manufacture of cigarettes on our reservation. I managed the tribe's $40 million casino project. We actually ended up a little under budget on that. So I work hard to make sure that we're doing the best we can for the tribe, and I just want to make sure that folks are aware of that. I've been in positions too where you don't always you're not always viewed as a good person just because of the decisions that you have to make. Sometimes you negatively impact people's their jobs or whatever, and that's something hard to get over for some people. But I've always done it in the best interest. I believe I'm fair and that I act professionally, and I think that that's what we need for our tribe, is to have folks on the tribal council that do those things. So, Miigwech, for the time, I appreciate the opportunity to do this interview, and I would certainly appreciate folks to consider me as a viable tribal council member for the next 3 years.